As Russian invasion of Ukraine enters 7th week and there appears no light of peace at the end of the tunnel, the international community is finding it hard to put together a tangible solution to bring the fight to an end. The UN, US and the EU have doubled down their efforts to further isolate Russia, but this has prompted only one thing: escalation. Meanwhile, New Delhi, which has sent humanitarian assistance for the affected regions in the past, has unequivocally condemned the horrific images that have emerged from the Ukrainian town of Bucha. Since day one, India has held its position that it wants peace and have urged both sides to use diplomatic means to resolve the crisis.
Pictures that shook the conscience of people around the world surfaced from Ukrainian capital Kyiv suburb Bucha this week. Corpses lying on roadsides, infrastructure turned into rubble, and the destroyed heavy war machinery. This appears to be the tipping point. An attack that is largely being called as genocide marked the darkest day in the Russia-Ukraine conflict that has entered its 7th week. The West has leveled charges of Russia targeting the civilians, which Moscow has clearly denied. Meanwhile, Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar strongly condemned what transpired in Bucha and urged for an independent investigation into the issue. While explaining New Delhi's position on the conflict, Jaishankar said that it had chosen the side of peace.
We are deeply disturbed by the reports. We strongly condemn the killings which have taken place there. This is an extremely serious matter, and we support the call for an independent investigation.
Meanwhile, the United Nations General Assembly suspended Russia from the UN Human Rights Council, citing gross and systematic violations and abuses of human rights by invading Russian troops in Ukraine. The US-led push garnered 93 votes in favor, while 24 countries voted no and 58 countries abstained. A two-thirds majority of voting members in the 193-member General Assembly in New York, abstentions do not count, was needed to suspend Russia from the 47-member Geneva-based Human Rights Council. Speaking after the vote, Russia described the move as an illegitimate and politically motivated step and declared it decided to leave the council altogether. New Delhi has so far abstained from most of the resolutions that have been brought against Russia. It has clearly indicated through its position that it will condemn all forms of violence but will not be coerced into giving up its diplomatic interests.
We believe that no solution can be arrived at by shedding blood and at the cost of innocent lives. In this day and age, dialogue and diplomacy are the right answers to any disputes, and this should bear in mind that the contemporary global order has been built on the UN Charter, on respect for international law, and for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states. If India has chosen a side, it is the side of peace.
Last month, the US President Joe Biden had called Indian move shaky after it didn't fall in line with what apparently looked like Washington's instruction against Russia. While the other Quad countries, the United States, Japan and Australia have sanctioned Russian entities or people, India has not imposed sanctions on its biggest supplier of military hardware. India has time and again said it will never support war. Indian history and present corroborates its position, but has also given clear message to the world that it cannot be cowed down into taking a position against its interests.